Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for another Q-tip session. My name, David Strausser, sales here at Quaint Business Solutions. Quaint, we are an SAP Business One provider who really just values excellence in customer service as well as knowledge of the SAP Business One application and associated services. Part of what we do here at Quaint is we try to ensure that we're showcasing the great features within the SAP B1 application and helping to empower our clients and others just like you to use the system to its fullest capability. Today, we are talking about HR. Who doesn't like talking about human resources? I love being written up personally. But anyways, we're going to be talking about how you can level up your SAP Business One's HR system with our friend here, Leon from Factorial. Hey, Leon, thank you so much for walking us through all the functionality that's out of the box with Factorial, with all those great features and your amazing solution, my friend. So with that, over to you. But one quick reminder before you kick off out there, Leon, everybody else, remember, Leon, he's not AI. He's not a bot. He's an actual human being. He has feelings. Please feel free to ask him any questions, okay? You'll see a little Q&A button on the top there of your Teams webinar. Click on that. Ask your question at the end of the webinar. We will get to as many questions as time permits. Okay. So with that in mind, Leon, now it's over to you, my friend.
Hey guys, hey David, appreciate the warm introduction. So today, for the next 20 to 30 minutes, I'll be giving a round explanation of what is Factorial, who are we, and what is our value proposition connected to the ERP ecosystem, specifically to SAP, right? So Factorial is a new gen HRIS founded in Barcelona back in 2016, so around 10 years ago, right? We're turning 10 this year. And between along this trajectory of 10 plus of 9+ years, almost 10, we managed to go from zero to over 100 million euros of annual recurrent revenue. We measure our business in euros since our headquarters are based in Spain, but we're also able to grow internationally, right? So our customers plus 15,000 customers are spread around the globe. Me particularly, I used to be based out of Miami, where our offices in the United States used to be. And currently what we're doing for go-to-market in other areas like Africa, the Middle East, and specifically for North America is to go through the channel for partners like Quant Business and try to localize our solution outside of Europe based on the specific needs of those regions, right? So we are present in more than 92 countries, and this is the strategy that is allowing us to be that scalable with offices here in Barcelona, a brandly open office in Munich and one in Paris, another one in Madrid, plus our Latin American offices in Mexico City and Sao Paulo. And this is all based on the huge investment for this technology, this piece of technology that we had, right? So we went Series A, Series B, Series C of investment, reached the valuation of over $1 billion by 2022 when I joined the company. So ever since, what we did is basically get this core HR module that we had when the company was founded here, that you're seeing as an employee platform, and we paired this up with different modules, different verticals that together encompass the whole completion of the workforce management, right? Now, since we are in 2026, the whole foundation of this product is being iterated to be AI powered, right? So everything here that you're seeing will be modulated through an AI agent that I'll show you to you guys that will be interacting and connecting the dots, right? So again, modular tool going through your operation standpoint. So everything related to time and attendance, clock in and out, scheduling, your talent development, right? So everything related to the more strategic side of HR, soft side of HR, KPIs, performance reviews, employee engagement, retention strategy. And then we also pair this up with a financial product. So we can do expenses reimbursement, procurement, accounts payable, all of that integrated to the HRIS, your employee of records, collective collection of signatures, onboarding, offboarding of employees. Um, as you already noticed by this point, we are very innovative, right? So that huge chunk of money that we receive along the years, right? Series A, Series B, Series C, that put us with more than 200 million euros in the bank and in a very strategic position to invest in our technology, right? That what keeps us competitive in the marketplace and keep us in the edge of development. And that's how we like to position ourselves as a pretty innovative startup, right? So this that you're seeing here is the verticals of the product and how we're developing them in a very horizontal manner and adding more tools as we go, right? So this right here, for instance, the CRM capabilities are on the roadmap, not there yet. But this year in 2026, we launch a full IT management solution outside of our HRIS that is fully connected, right? That also does MDM, helps you with hardware procurement, can manage devices remotely, all of that good stuff fully integrated with the same product that we have in our core, right? Now, we are in the SaaS industry, right? So services are a big portion of what we do. We will typically implement the solution based on the first conversation that someone from my team will have with you guys, will have with the clients, right? Understand their needs and do tailor plans, right? Because this is a very robust product with different modules, we can sell this in different bundles, even with different features, and allocate the best modular solution for each use case, right? And all of this will surpass the different verticals that we mentioned before, right? So we have here the different verticals and what they cover. I'm not going to lose a lot of time. I'm going to waste a lot of time for here. I feel like this is more impactful when show live, but is this just to cover ideally how the system is splitting the different boxes that typically are under finance, under HR, under operations, and connecting everything into one manageable space to automate your processes, right? Now, I'm not don't want to kill you guys with that by PowerPoint. Just surpassing here, but I'll feel like the most important thing is that showing you guys live the overall added value and what we're covering here besides this feature itself, but also on a business component, right? So typically when we're doing this implementation, we're not only covering admin processes in the sense of saving you guys time, but also preventing you guys to going through different fines, right? These are just a few examples of regulation, insurance compliance that companies in America have to go through. But the idea here of automation with HRIS and pair this up with other softwares like ERP and IT management is to create one single space of compliance as well. So saving you money on both ends, right? Automation of processes, saving time, and then preventing you guys from spending future money with fines and compliance issues, right? Which nowadays in America is one of the topics that I get the most, right? Um, like I said, this will be localized. So when we go to market in Americas, we try to localize our tool with third-party resellers in the country, primarily in your region, right? Quant Business is here to add that leg of service as well. And then what we have internally is a team for 300 plus dedicated customer support professionals, right? Those will be allocated. A portion of this team will be here in Europe, and the other portion will be in Mexico, so closer time zone wise, and that gives you a very huge time span, right? So from 9 to 6 in Europe, plus from 9 to 6 in Mexico City, that's pretty much 15 to 16 hours, depending where you at in the United States, that you have fully coverage over the phone with our customer support. And we also deployed this with the help of project managers, account managers, onboarding specialists, and every extra lag of help that we need from an IT management companies. Our partners like One will be able to localize and develop punctual connectors, and add an extra lag of services to what we already offer out of box, right? Now, with not much further ado, I'll start actually sharing my screen, give an overall visibility of the platform, okay? Okay, so everyone can see it, I imagine. Welcome to Factorial. this that you're seeing right here is the main dashboard of the platform. So as soon as you log in, this is pretty much the standard visibility you get with all the features installed, right? So this is the full complete version of the platform. UI, UX wise, I always like to start emphasizing the usability of the system. Here on your left-hand side, this is the most important division for the user itself, right? So under the bar personal, this is your personal information, your self-service portal. So me as an employee, I'll be able to engage with my own clock in and out. I'll be able to see my time off available and make requests, fill out my performance reviews, sign my documents, onboard, all of that good stuff. And then under the different verticals here are the modules that we mentioned and the actual management visibility for overall across the company. So I have my company core functionality. This is your employee platform, my operations vertical, my talent vertical, IT and finance all installed empowered by the analytics, right? So the idea here is that as much more data as you input in the platform, the better the analytics will be, better reports will be able to create connecting the dots across workforce management, right? Typically, the first thing that we do when we're setting this up is to establish the permissions of the system. So what you guys are seeing right now is the standard visibility. So either me or an intern or the CEO of the company will pretty much see the same design-wise, so where the things are at. But what it changes fundamentally is the level of access to the information, right? So in my demo, I'm a super admin. I'm the owner of the company. So for instance, I get to see team status. I get to see open positions and apply. You guys can restrict this visibility however you want. So this is one of the biggest differentiators that we have in the SMB industry. Other players, very common in America, I'm not going to quote a lot of names, but you guys know of them. They typically, when working with the S&P industry, they don't have permissions as granular as ours. So out of box, the system will be able to create different admin groups and delegate the permissions and the visibility across the features per click, right? So every single aspect of all you're seeing will be a different set of permissions and come out with what employees get to see and do, right? So we get to be very scalable and very granular in that aspect. And that's how we're able also to scale to so many countries, so many regions with different business climates, right? So once this is done, then we do the settings of the overall platform. And like I said, design wise, this will be static. So when I log in, I'll be able to see my clock in and out tool. This can be enabled through the phone app. This can be done through facial recognition, QR code scanning, or even integrated to the hardware that you guys prefer to use. We don't sell the hardware, but we can recommend partners that we prefer to work with depending on your region. In the main dashboard, this is your live check and balances. If you guys are familiar with HRIS, you already saw something like this. This is being divided, finance, performance, spending, and I can see the different tasks that me as an employee or as a manager I need to do. If I need to approve stuff, if I need to disapprove stuff, I'll be able to do live from here. And all the inputs coming to the inbox, they'll also pop up in the email that is associated to the platform. Same thing for the phone app. So if folks want to turn in notifications for the phone app to, your manager, you want to approve live your employee's time off or to review scheduling, you can do it directly from there. And in the main dashboard, the rest of the information will complete some sort of intranet, right? Your overall company space where you can see the events going on, all the communities that you have. Like I said, if you're a manager, you get to see live the team status, if there's information that you want. And then we try to create some level of endomarking, right? This is a concept that we work hard with internally here at the company. So we can leave you guys the option to put your open positions or your links, code of conduct, policies. Of course, your logo will be here. And then ideally create some sense of engagement with employees, right? Where they can react to each other, see the open positions and apply themselves, refer colleagues. Typically cheaper to promote internally than to hire externally, right? So I'll be able to do all of this directly through my intranet on the dashboard, right? So this is the first visibility that you get. And before I move forward, showing you guys score and reviewing the modules overall, I wanted to show you this. This is the AI agent that I mentioned going over across the whole platform. Um, the idea here is that either the manager will have access to this to do live reports based on the company's data, but also employees, that, might have a question, those silly little questions that typically people ask HR, right? How many days I have available, or where is my document X, Y, and Z? one will be empowered to all the components of the company, and they can consume the credits asking this type of stuff on a daily basis, right? Um, so just an important thing to mention. And this, again, this is the most powerful tool that we have moving forward. We truly are a sponsor of AI nowadays. We truly believe in this change, and we believe in a world that moved from analogic to digitized, and now is moving from digitized to AI agent centric, right? So this is something that we're also in the front end of developing. And the idea here is that I can ask anything, things like how many days I have of time off, but also to collect reports and ask setup questions. How can I set up time off for, I don't know, Massachusetts? And sorry, my spelling here. Massachusetts in Factorial um, as a manager, right? So let's assume I'm a HR manager and I just started and this is my full-time employees. The system can also answer this type of question. So ideally, what we're doing here is centralizing the overall operational stakes. Very soon, this will also be completing information automatically, but we're not there yet. Now, what I wanted to show you guys is the core functionality of the platform, the overall structure. So under the bar company, this is your base employee of records, the HR core component. Automatically, the system, just based on who responds to who level of seniority, the system will create the org chart, and you guys will be able to project your growth. This will be synced to the applicant tracking system, but also to create the overall job structure and different categories that you have for functions. So strategic HR from the get-go. From your core functionality, you guys will be able to do forecast, set planning, project your growth, but also assess the different functions and roles that you have within the company. And within those roles, what are the different levels that I have, right? With this different levels, what are the different levels of salaries and competencies associated? So I can see here, what are the working conditions for a marketer? What are the competencies expected from a junior marketer, a mid marketer versus a senior market? What are the devices associated to this position, the salaries, and the most important thing is that all of this will revert back for a performance review cycle or for time management when we're talking about working conditions. So this is the strategic sense to add transparency for a career progression. You guys, HR, to be able to make decisions, right? We have this amount of people as junior, maybe we should promote someone to senior instead of hiring the market, things like that from the get-go, from the core functionality in the platform. And the employee of records, of course, will look very standard if you guys already saw HRIS. I like to punctuate the differentiators, right? This overview tab will condense all the information that you have in the platform. So all the clock-in data, timesheet, trainings, tasks, expenses associated, the HR data, the shifts, even the compensation. If the guy got promoted here, if Adam was promoted, I'll be able to see this reflecting here. The agreement data will also be managed here, and I can make inputs directly from here, change the information associated, and see a historic trail from all the changes directly from here. And all of this reverts back to this module right here, compensations, right? So what the system does, and this is an important differentiator from, the likes of QuickBooks or ADP, we're not a payroll provider. So we're not going to pay our employees. We do not process the actual payroll. What we do is to manage the payroll. So what does that mean actually is that because we have all the inputs, we have the hours worked, we have the time off request, we have the changes in contract, changes in salary, we're able to, within this module called compensations, allocate all the different data, differentiate all the different rules, collective agreements, and add an import and export that fits whatever payroll provider that you guys use. And that's something that we commit during deployment, is to map out your payroll provider, if someone that we never heard about it for whatever reason, make sure that this layout fits the tool, right? So when I go here and I click on Charles Carter, basically the system is taking information across all the different features and putting here. So any information that I add to this person's agreement, if they have extra hours, holiday allowances that we're tracking somewhere else, all of that good stuff. And then taking this as a ready output to be fed in the payroll provider. Now, we still have a few minutes, and what I wanted to show is that this is an out-of-box tool, right? So this is low development, low effort on the onboarding. We don't even call it an implementation, which is kind of unusual on the software industry. We call it an onboarding because it's much more us teaching you guys how to use it when you're launching, then actually going on extreme development, creating webhooks and things as such. 99.9% of the parameters that you guys will be using will be already out of box. So like I said, the first thing that we do is to set up permissions structurally. Then we can set up the different parameters that we have to segregate data and create different settings, right? So the first thing that we have is the ability to create multiple legal entities. So if you guys have a legal entity working down in New York and a different one working in California versus one in Boston, the United States is pretty much like that. The business climate would be different. The compliance aspects would be different. The policies in California typically will be more strict than in a place like Massachusetts, but you guys will be able to allocate all of this and create, segregate employees, the contract types, and the settings on time conditions, for instance, for all those different entities. Then we can go a little extra and segregate the data also by workplaces. So when I have an office in New York, but I have two different places, one in New York and Manhattan and one in Brooklyn, I don't know, I'll be able also to segregate the work areas, different bank holidays if this encompass, and then the actual features, right? So think of as going from the macro environment, right, the legal entity itself, up to the micro, the minimum one, which is the feature itself, right? So if I click here on time tracking, I'll be able to set up the policy, the behavior on this time tracking from the get-go, and I don't have a limit on the amount of policies that I have. This same logic follows everything. So your compensation modules, your time off module. So I'll be able here to create as many policies as needed for different employees in different contexts, right? I assume it'll be very different if you have an hourly employee versus a full-time employee versus a permanent versus a temporary, depending on your industry and your region. So the system won't limit you on that end. The first thing that we do when we're setting up those policies is to set up how they clock in and out, what is the actual system use, and then we go through every detail on the preferences. If you guys have incidents management policy, what are the qualifications for payroll? What are the rules of payroll that I show you on the compensation? Do you guys have special hours? If some people will be working in retail and they have like Sunday shifts and people pay extra on those, I don't know. And then how this reverts back to compensation. Is it daily? Is it weekly? Is it biweekly? Is it monthly? Do we have a bank of hours? What are all the different sets of parameters? And the same logic, like I said, will follow for time off. So I will be able to modulate all the different absence types. I'll be able to create different holidays. If you guys have a specific red day, a specific benefit that you give to your employees, how does that behave? Does that count as paid? Does this deduct from allowance? Does this enable half days? All of that. So basically what we're doing is getting the business acumen from the 15 plus thousand customers that we have worldwide and adding to the system settings out of box to be able to, meet a universal business condition, right? Now, before we go, sorry for the noise, guys. I'm in the sales floor and we have someone closing the deal right now. So that's what happened when you're doing
You
a live
never have to
presentation.
apologize for closing a deal, Leon.
There you
That's
go.
always worth a celebration. I
There you
think
go.
all our customers out there celebrate all their wins.
There you go. So I just recapping here. The last thing that I want to show in the final 5 minutes is just a very on the high level an overview of the other verticals, right? So on talent, what you guys will have is the ability to connect the performance review cycle with your engagements or your employee polls, your climate surveys, your ENPS to the same space that you address your trainings. The system will collect all this data and automatically create analytics like your 9-box grid, your performance analytics, and this will be all based in the performance review cycle. I'm not going to click on you one, but this is very self-explanatory. Click on the big red button and follow the lines. Once I create this, what the system does is to sum up the data and leave me with very clear analytics on the process and what should be the next step. we're never going to reinforce any standard operating procedure. We're flexible enough, like I show you on the settings in every feature, to meet your standard operating procedure. But the idea here is that we empower on with much more data and automation than what you guys currently have. So if I click here on Bernardo, for instance, this is her performance review. There is an AI component telling me that the alignment is low, and I can click on it with the AI insights and see why the alignment is low, what are the areas to improve, and a suggested action plan. And if I click on it, the system allows me to go through this actual action plan with the employee, right? So actually take the answers here and come to conclusions. So what is the conclusion? Well, Christopher Clark, which is the evaluator, didn't add its conclusion yet. The idea here is that the system will connect this. Once the manager adds the conclusion, it'll be able to allocate a course, a training, or a specific goal to this employee. So the system is syncing your individual performance reviews, your individual KPIs to broader company goals, but also to individual training that you can deploy to your employees, right? We do have an LMS that can generate courses, but more important than that, and different than other softwares, we're also able to connect this with the financial cost, with the actual hours attended. So if I take this filter out and I put like a longer period, I can see here the total cost, number of costs and salary, and the data that this LMS is offering. So I can, me as strategic HR, decide if this is worth it or not. This is actually being something that we should keep or change the strategy moving forward. And what the engagement segment does, sorry, and what the training segment does, basically, it's not connecting this through a visibility that the employees can engage directly here. So I do this on my phone app most of the time. I'll be able to see the course effectiveness. I'll be able to see the satisfaction, the knowledge test, all the surveys associated. So if you do a training, you want to see if the employees actually completed, all the materials associated, the training group, and then when I go on the training groups, the actual KPI. So who attended? Did they have calendar invite? So I can see here that everyone attended this one. So the system not only creates the content, but also creates the management content and add just its different workflows. So here you'll be able to do your onboarding, your offboarding, manage the whole employee life cycle, but also automate the collection of certifications. And I leave the training as an example, but this can extend far beyond. Now, I spoke quite a lot for the last few minutes, and we only have 3 to wrap up. So I'll give back just to David. It's a very robust horizontal system. So
Yeah, yeah. There
was
you
able
go. So we got a couple questions for you, and just so everybody out there knows, if we can't answer your question, we will get you an answer. Sometimes you can't always answer them on the spot. First one I got here is from Jasmine. It looks like with separate companies, can an employee be listed under multiple companies or just one?
Yeah, in multiple companies. However, the instance topology-wise, Factorial can be deployed as a multi-account environment as well. So for companies that have different entities like a holding, and you don't want financial data, operational data from those different companies mixing, matching, and the analytics will be isolated, we can do that and deploy a multi-account environment. Or if you want to just have one single topology where the analytics will be encompassing the whole group, we can do that for permissions as well. We're successfully implemented this type of topology for very big clients. So we're able to do it however you guys want to do it.
Awesome. Okay, next question from Faith. It says, how much of this goes into Business One, or is it just mostly in here? So I assume that means like she's asking, like, is it mostly inside of Factorial, or does it go into B1? And if it does go into B1, what type of information goes back and forth?
Okay, so we are an open API system, so anyone that wants to connect their tools to Factorial can do that for free. Our API is public. We do have live an integration with SAP B1 that basically deals with ID provisioning. So if you onboard someone in Factorial, this information also populates in the ERP. We work with different partners that commercialize point connectors for the other pieces in the payroll processing. So compensation, time off, time tracking. There are different partners spread out around the globe that deal with SAP that they own these point connectors and they can commercialize those. So we ourselves as a company, we led on point business, for instance, to decide the proper strategy here.
Okay, and Jordan wants to call you out. It looks like he's asking when you say it's more of an onboarding instead of an implementation, like how fast does that really roll out? I guess we're getting to the essence of like what is a typical traditional rollout for a company.
Yeah, the two factors that impact that is the size of the company and their ability to absorb technology, meaning do they have full-time employees able to sit on those meetings and actually do the legwork? And then the second one is the amount of modules that they are acquiring, right? Less modules, less employees, faster, more modules, more employees, longer onboarding. Now, to give an answer, we typically, our average onboarding is 4 to 8 weeks because our sweet spot is 100 to 200 people. So that would be that ballpark. But of course, for bigger clients, this timeline typically goes longer than this.
And then one final question I have here is what makes Factorial different from other HR solutions? There are a lot of HR solutions out there. I think everybody knows that. So, what really makes Factorial different?
Okay, there's a few things that I like to punctuate that, but specifically in the United States, what you have is either legacy players that everyone knows, right? ADP, Workday, and I can quote UKG, for instance. Those solutions typically are very powerful, but they're not delightful. So they tend to be very hard to implement and very hard to maneuver. So there's a lot of companies that hire people just to manage, UKG workspace or manage people just to have, hire people just to manage Workday or things like that. So we'll differentiate from those legacy players in the usability and the UI UX and the easy to deploy. It will be cheaper and faster, right? But that's just one of the legs. Also in the United States, what you have is a lot of punctual competitors. So tools that only sell parts of what Factorial does. So you have a lot of clock in and out tools, a lot of isolated performance review tools, a lot of isolated time off and core management tools, but very few that do the whole scope, that manage the full scope of what Factorial does in the whole workforce management. And then third, you do have your competitors that are direct competitors that do have a similar value proposition and offering. And against those, what we differentiate is our ability to innovate. We are a very well funded, money wise, we're in a very particular point in the current economy with the ability to keep investing in growth, investing in new products, new tools, and technology. But we also allocate our services through different partners, right? So our ability to absorb new businesses and understand new regions where other companies will struggle with us it tends to be very seamless thanks to Quant Business and its associates, right? So I'll say if I'm plunking this in three things, I'll say it's innovation. That'll be our biggest differentiator. The all-in-one offering that we do with an HRIS and our ability to localize our services that really stands out.
And one thing I think I'll just ask myself so we can throw this out there for everybody that's enjoying your wonderful webinar, Leon, is price wise, uh, this solution is priced directly for the small biz to small to medium sized biz market. It's got a very attractive, a very cost effective price point. It's not like you're going out and buying this huge, super expensive, massive system with a million things that you don't need. It's price. For the perfect market niche of small to medium sized businesses, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we were able to customize and visualize prices on a use case basis, right? Like I said, we sell this modularly, but we do a traditional SaaS model on a per employee per month, and we can allow agreements with no commitment, so month to month, truly month to month. If you want to stop using, you just let us know 15 days in advance. So that gives some flexibility and it shows actually how much we trust in the product. Right? Our churn is really low.
That's awesome. So great. Hey, Leon, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody that came here, especially Leah and Agatha and the Factorial team. I mean, we really appreciate you coming on here, showing us, showing our clients, showing everybody that's going to see our, in case you missed it, and our YouTube video of this webinar out there, what Factorial brings to the table with SAP Business One behind it. So please be sure to follow us on LinkedIn. Check out our email announcements for the next product feature and our other great things that we always have going on here at Quaint. Please make sure to pop over to our website, locate some of our amazing takeaway documents, other goodies like our resource page. And yeah, if you want, jump into our YouTube channel. We have a ton of webinars there, including this one, which will be up in a couple days. And yeah, thank you again for joining us. And we'll see you all next time, next month. Until then, Quaint out.